Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Citizens of Lorcana podcast, a podcast where we invite you to be a part of their world. We're your hosts, Jared and James, and today we're talking Lorcana with a local game store owner. So without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another week. Last week we caught up with Adara on her TCG journey. And today we're talking with our good friend, Travis from Kingslayer Games in Southern California. We are so excited to have on our good friend. So welcome, Travis. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Just another busy week in the trading card world. So yeah, just keep my head down and plugging away.
Yeah, there's some new stuff coming out. Like at least one new thing coming out this week or next week.
Yeah,
Right.
so we've got Yu-Gi-Oh 25th anniversary set releases. They're re-releasing the first 5 sets of the game, so that comes out on Friday. And Flesh and Blood new set Dust Till Dawn comes out on Friday as well. So we have a lot of Flesh and Blood players in both of our stores. It's actually the most popular game among staff. Everyone kind of plays Magic, and about half of our store staff play Pokemon or other games. But for Flesh and Blood, they're really big on that, so they're really hyped.
Yes.
So funny.
Go ahead.
It's so funny because we're sitting in our own little world here, which is Lorcana, and you have to deal with things that are beyond Lorcana. So to hear you talk about other things going on, I'm just like, the world doesn't revolve around Lorcana.
Yeah, I end up being quite disconnected from the actual games now, just because we're in multiple locations, so it's bittersweet. But yeah, it's fun because places like GAMA and Gen Con, I get to be more product level at times than when I'm in the stores. But yeah, it is, the cycle is brutal. And Magic upped their release schedule years ago to be every other week, it feels like, and then timing that with all the other games and all the other organized play and in multiple locations, it can make your head spin. But I have a really awesome team, so it makes it a lot easier.
That's awesome. So you actually did mention being able to go to GAMA, and that's actually where we met you.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so not only were we fortunate enough to meet you there, but also be able to meet you because that's where I'm going to get to play, is at the Fountain Valley location, because that's just a half an hour from me, roughly. And
Cool.
I think that's pretty awesome. So was your first, what was your impression coming away from GAMA about Lorcana?
Yeah, I think it was great that they identified that as a good opportunity for Ravensburger to be there. Meant that they knew that was the place to be. And I think there was some signals from what's Ryan's last name? Miller. So there's some signals that I think whenever a new game comes out, if I'm trying to pay attention and have my ear to the ground, we like to obsess. Obsession is a word that we use a lot. It's one of our values. We just try to be obsessed with card games. And so when a new game is coming out, we put our ear to the ground. We're trying to hear from our community. And when we see that Ryan's resume in launching trading card games, and the fact that they identified GAMA as the place to be, to really be ground level with store owners, those were all good signs. It was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going through my list of reasons that I'm excited about this having legs and longevity, like that. Those boxes were all getting checked, which we didn't really put Flesh and Blood or MetaZoo or all these other games really through those same tests. But to see that this was happening just meant, I think it just means that it has all the opportunities and the chances to succeed.
I wanted to ask you, we came away from GAMA thinking that Lorcana was the buzz of the conference, and certainly like Star Wars Shatterpoint was there as well. That had a lot of buzz, but did you have the same impression as us? Did you feel like it had a lot of buzz?
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, it was the reason why we ended up going. We went the year prior, and it was our first GAMA, our first really like B2B conference for the hobby. Whereas before, I had so much going on in my own little world in the stores and so many projects to work on that I kind of falsely, I didn't prioritize properly the importance of that show. And for anyone that's in the industry that hasn't been to GAMA, that's maybe owns a store or is thinking about owning a store, a lot of people go to that show because it's a great place to learn how to run a business, especially if maybe you're not business minded and you're just coming into the hobby from purely a fan perspective. So there's so much value just at that show in general for prospective store owners or people that are new to the industry and people that have been in the industry a long time. So it was our first GAMA 2 years ago was after owning the store for 5 years, and it was like, you don't know what you don't know, and the amount of things we drove home with thinking like, wow, like just mind's blown. And so going to our second show, we kind of same thing. There's so much going on in my family life and my work life, and trying to see like, does it make sense to go? And then I think I got the GAMA catalog like the week before GAMA this year, and we planned on not, we were kind of just going to brush it off. And then I saw that, oh, shoot, Lorcana's going to be there. So, and it was like, okay, to what extent? And it's like, oh yeah, they're actually like going to be a pretty like present, you know, entity at GAMA. So we should probably go to GAMA. So we did. And that was really, I think, I'm assuming that other stores were doing that. I guess I don't know that for certain. It definitely was, they filled up their conference pretty quickly. So I think it was the right call, and have a chance to meet Ryan and to be able to demo the game and to make connections with you all. I think it goes to show that like there's pure person to person in-person networking is still alive and well, and it definitely connects some dots for sure.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that there was that seemed to be one of the major things, was a chance for people from all the different levels of the business to actually have a chance to interact with each other more than just, placing orders or whatever it may be. They're in there, like you said, you're in your own world with your family and your store, but you rely on the manufacturers and the distributors. And it looked like it was a really good chance for just everybody to come together and have a chance to interact with each other for once.
Yeah, it's really a special thing especially for folks that don't mind getting out of their comfort zone, because there's like the retailer seminars for stores to did you all do any of the retailer seminars, like for, I guess it might have been the day before. I don't know if that was part of your badge, where you could go and like other store owners like kind of present how to run the store. Is that something that you guys participated in?
I don't think we went to any of those. I think we were limited to when it was retailer only, was I think when it was vendors just showing off stuff that was limited to retailers.
Okay.
But other things we could have gone to. It's just, we had other things that we needed to do, or, it didn't seem like it was something that would impact us enough to actually go and listen to it.
Sure. Yeah, and this might kind of be a tangent off of the main drive here, but again, for industry folks that are either thinking about starting a business in the industry or are in the industry, there's so much value in those conferences, because it's basically other store owners from across North America and some from Europe that come and share best practices of how they run their business. And the takeaways that we get from that are so huge. And then you have all those fun shared learnings, and then you walk into the show floor a couple days later, and then you get to put your hands on all the products and meet other folks too. So yeah, just a great experience all around.
Man, I almost feel like GAMA should be sponsoring this episode.
Maybe.
just teasing. Okay, so moving on from GAMA, back to Lorcana. Tell us, from the perspective of a local game store owner, what first caught your eye about Lorcana, and were you immediately sold on it? I mean, I guess you talked about putting your ear to the ground and doing your research, but what ultimately brought you around to being sold on it?
Yeah, I think for us, if it's a trading card game, we're probably in anyways. So but if I was to answer that question as maybe a store that's like, board game, RPG, war gaming, and like dabbles in TCGs, and whether or not they were going to be in, I think you just look at the creator, the design behind it, the IP, and I guess the level of how much you commit just depends on how big trading card games are in your market and where you're located. Like, we're in Southern California. It's a huge TCG community for Magic, for Pokemon. So it's and the ability for people that are into competitive play to travel from the border all the way up to San Francisco, like pre-COVID, the Magic community, the competitive scene, there was Grand Prix in the U.S. almost every weekend, and our players in Southern California would just fly to every Grand Prix in the U.S. like constantly. Like the competitive scene for TCGs in our area is just huge. So,
Wow.
to I guess to circle back, I think the IP is great. The fact that the design seems to be in the right hands, and then from the collectability standpoint, this is something we learned at GAMA, but to learn that the quality control, the foiling process, like some of those nuanced things that I think some games just kind of overlook it and maybe don't spend the extra buck on getting that right. Like it seemed like they were investing in the card quality in that process pretty well too. Like seeing the foils and stuff at the show felt really nice.
Yeah, and so you mentioned the competitive scene, which is, rip my ability to be able to do well if there's that many competitive players around here.
Sure.
as a not having played TCGs pretty much ever except for 20 years ago. So about organized play, I know we don't really know a lot of specifics about the organized play that's coming for Lorcana, but do you want to talk like in general stuff about like for people that are coming in that haven't done organized play before, like what is your opinion about what's a good event, both for you and for the community of the players coming in? Yeah,
so we made a shift through COVID and after we re-entered the event space post COVID. We made a conscious decision to be a store that is for the casual player and like kind of an on-ramp store for players getting into the hobby. We did a lot of the like really competitive Magic the Gathering community stuff, and we excelled at that. We had our own invitational tournaments, and we did Twitch streaming, and we had our own we had invitationals offsite over at a golf course at Mile Square Park in Fountain Valley, and had a pro team that traveled across the country and qualified for pro tours. So we have a lot of history supporting high level competitive play with like, where we would compensate our players to travel and all this kind of stuff. And so we have experience in that. And then we also have experience on the casual side. And the casual side is so much more rewarding to teach new people and get them into the hobby. I feel kind of something I've said in the past. One of my shticks is that for the hobby store, when I got into the industry 8 years ago now, I had a sales background and opened my store, and I thought it was a competition, and we were all trying to put each other out of business, and that was kind of my like, okay, we're Kingslayer Games, we're here to kick everyone's butt and
slay.
And then I realized, that's really not how this community works. There's enough to go around for everyone. The product really, in a lot of ways, sells itself. People are going to buy Pokemon booster boxes, whether or not, I tell them to or not. They're just going to do it. But the thing that wasn't happening in local game stores was creating a safe environment, really enforcing rules of inclusivity, not having any exclusionary language, having a code of conduct, having a mission statement, having values, having a clean bathroom, having a clean store. Like those basic things weren't really happening. And so we just decided, hey, let's just do the basics. Let's have a fun environment where we can onboard as many players as we can. And it's our job to protect the hobby. The local game store is a steward of the hobby. It's a partnership and a relationship with the players. And each game is kind of like its own candle that we're like the community and the store. We're kind of like protecting it and keeping it alive. And sometimes, Flesh and Blood is a game that we started, and we started that organized play process in Oceanside which is our second store. We had maybe 3 players that were wanting to play Flesh and Blood and a staff member, and they're like, all right, well, we're gonna have 4 every week, and we're gonna try to get a 5th and then a 6th, and now it's up to like 16, 17 players every week. And it really is a matter. It takes time and effort if you really want the community to grow. So we decided that was the method for us to bring players in. And to tie that into your question about OP for Lorcana, we're going to be the store that if there's if they say, hey, here's organized play month 1, each store gets like 8 Mickey promos, that's it, or something, and like everyone, we're not going to be the store that says, all right, we're going to have some like death match, cutthroat event where winner takes all. We're the type of environment where we would do, hey, half of the prizing we're gonna raffle away to anyone that just attends, and then it's a very casual prizing model that we usually use because we want to give everyone the opportunity to benefit from that. So yeah, casual onboarding. I think that's and the way that they announced Lorcana is that, not having competitive play at the start, I think makes a ton of sense, especially for the IP to not have some cutthroat on ramp. Yeah.
So I have a follow-up question for you. You talked about how you made the switch to fostering casual play. Do you find yourself getting a constant influx of casual players? And also, when a casual player decides they want to turn competitive, do you still have that environment, or do they have to go somewhere else? Like, I'm still so new to all this.
So for Lorcana, I don't know, whatever version of organized play that's offered from Ravensburger for Lorcana, we'll participate in. So if they have if they kind of ratchet up to competitive and they have other offerings, cool. Pokemon right now, for example, still hasn't really brought back World Championships in the way that it was before. But they have we organize weekly play, and then they have a thing called League Cups. And the League Cups, you have the opportunity to earn points that help you qualify for Worlds. So those events just inherently become more competitive. Every game has a casual and a sweaty version of play usually. So and we do support both, but not because we're so focused on onboarding. I think people and players know this is the store that you go to have a good time. And if you want the store that has $1,000 cash prize, they exist, they're around, and you can go play there. And a lot of our players and our staff will go and play in those events. That's we support those stores too. We just find it's more fun to care about the experience of building friendships, and then secondary fact, if there is a more competitive thing, we'll consider it type of we'll go there if we have to, which is great. It hits right in our wheelhouse. And I think the rubber will meet the road when allocations and or they talk about quantities of promos stores get and stuff, and then that's where everything flies off the handle. We'll see what happens.
So I've been to a handful of organized play events. Before Lorcana, I was playing My Hero Academia, and I actually just got back in for the pre-release, which I'm sure if you carry it, you just went through that. But I know that there are these unwritten codes of conduct that exist for players that come in and play. But and you talked about this a little bit in your last answer, how there's these unwritten rules. From your point of view, what are the do's and don'ts for organized players?
Yeah, I think it's that's a good question. So we have a code of conduct, and one of the things is actually let me see if I should have pulled it up. Winning and losing with pride is something that's important. I think is important. I'm a pretty bad example of this. I'm a really sore loser. So I'm competitive and I want to win. Playing in a Kingslayer store is actually in some ways kind of difficult for me because I'm competitive, so I want to win. But then if I win, I've had the opportunity to create a negative experience for someone that's in my store, and I'm not a good card player, so me winning is quite infrequent. But if I do win, it's this it's this weird catch-22, and I shouldn't feel that way. But I actually enjoy if I am going to play a card game, I enjoy playing Commander that's really casual, or playing at another store, honestly, because it doesn't have the opportunity to create that moment. Yeah, in terms of code, if someone is new to card games, I'm trying to erase my memory from before I stepped into that. And I didn't really play any card games before opening the store. I had a business background and opened a comic book store, and then people wanted to play card games, so I learned through ownership, which is kind of a weird path.
So fascinating.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole. I mean, we could, if we have time, I can go over the shotgun version of 0 to 60 on how the store started. But I think for people that have not played an in-person card game and have only played maybe video games and played Warzone or World of Warcraft or so, all their gaming experiences are through a device. I could imagine that's pretty intimidating, but there's a rush that comes from playing a competitive. Even though Lorcana isn't quote unquote competitive, you're still playing 1 versus 1, and there's some sort of stakes, there's some sort of entry fee and some sort of prizing, and it gets your heart rate going. It's kind of man, I don't want to mess up. Like, I don't want to misplay. I don't want to drop my cards. Like, you can really kind of be heady about that experience, but the rush of it is super fun. And winning or losing, like, there is like a heart rate change in just the experience of playing a card game in person that that you can't really emulate in other modes. So yeah, I think code of conduct, Pokemon has like a required handshake before the game starts, and so that's, I think that's really, and I think, and is it before and after the game? Um, there's stuff, all games talk about things like not using exclusionary language and stuff like that. But I think just, having a positive attitude, win, lose, or draw, and just, getting to know your opponent. I love to do that and ask them. I like to talk and I like to listen, but I like to ask just, what kind of work are you in, or how long of a drive did you have, or just, having a conversation with the player while you're playing makes it a lot more enjoyable. And then if you do lose, and you kind of, the sour taste of that kind of goes away, because you've probably built a relationship, and this person might be someone that you for years. Like, that's the great part about the TCG community, is you both are into that intellectual property or into that game for some reason, and you came to that store, and you'll meet. There's so many friendships and lifelong, friendships that have been made just from playing at Kingslayer stores over the last 8 years. That part's really fun. It's fun to, take a breath and step back and look at the people that have, the quality of their lives have improved through networking, through in-store play. So I think that's, having an open mind and just being positive, and I think it's the best way to go.
That sounds really good. So speaking of, the community, and Jared, he has mentioned that he wants to really help his local store to get these events going and foster that community. So from the other side of the person who, there may be someone like Jared coming to you saying, I want to help. What are the kind of things that you would be comfortable or would be looking for from someone who is coming to you with doing that?
Yeah, I think having community advocates, whether or not they're staff members or just, players in the community, depending on, I'm not sure if the store that you're going to play at, Jared, has a Discord, but a lot of times just having, being, however they organize and network their community, just being active in whatever that is. And for us, that's Discord. So I think there's ways to incentivize. I know there's a store that presented at GAMA, Games of Berkeley, and their Discord manager, he's kind of like their social media guru. His name's escaping me right now, but he's very active in their Discord, and they end up, their store has been around forever, and they have a huge Discord community and organized play for all sorts of games. But they in Discord, they identify those community members with different roles, and they have, like, certain privileges, and they may end up getting things like moderator privileges and stuff like that to help the community, and they might get promos or some sort of giveaways. They might have a way of incentivizing that relationship. So that's always great, and it's so rewarding when you already have someone that's like, hey, I want to be a banner holder for this game. Like, tell me what you need, because that the odds of that game being successful in that store, like, go up dramatically, exponentially. So yeah, hopefully the store, they may not have the tools or the resources to really invest in a proper Discord management or proper social media management, but hopefully they can at least identify you and appreciate you for offering that assistance. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of, like, however they're networking, like plugging that banner holder in.
Yeah, that's great advice. And sadly, the store that I was planning on creating an environment in, they were approved to be a hobby store program, so they can sell Lorcana, but they weren't approved for organized play. So I've been laying all this groundwork, and now I just feel like it's been for nothing. So I'm trying to identify, like, I know a handful of stores. I live in Las Vegas, so there's a handful of stores that have been approved for organized play. So now I'm trying to figure out which store that is, and then I'm, like, more than willing to carry that banner. I want to make, everybody says, like, when I go to different stores, that Vegas is a magic town. Every other game has a hard time succeeding here, but I feel like there's room for Lorcana to flourish right alongside Magic and Pokemon.
No, they got approved to carry product, but not for the hobby store program.
So
are those different things?
So there's two classifications. There's the hobby store program where they're allowed to sell product, and then there's stores that were approved for organized play.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't know. There's so much we don't know, but I hear people say that if you weren't approved for organized play, your store may not be getting product during the first wave. So
Okay.
that's kind of like a big ouch for me, if it's true.
There's definitely going to be because we buy from all three distributors at two stores, and so there's a little bit of a politicking with what store, like which distributor we picked will prioritize us with product, and then the other two that we said no to are kind of they end up being like, oh, you didn't pick us. It's like, well, we wish we could pick all of you, but so it'll be interesting to see how allocations line up from the ones we picked versus the ones we didn't. But it's a shame that how far away is the next closest store that got approved for the program?
Yeah, so I mean, I still have a couple stores that are about in the same driving distance. The store that I was going to make my main was about 20 minutes away, and there's easily two others within 20 minutes that I can drive to. That's one of the perks of living in a big city, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of we did before we opened our second location, we toured Las Vegas and we toured the Phoenix area to just canvas all the stores. And so we went, this was 2021. April 2021, and we went and just hit every single store in Vegas. And so it was a lot of fun to kind of map a bunch of data points, and did they greet us at the door, and that kind of stuff. And it was pretty interesting. But
you're good at this. I'm impressed.
No, it's building retail experiences is the thing I like to do, and so it's a lot of fun, and to be able to do it in industry that has anything to do with gaming and nerd stuff is an added bonus. But yeah, I think you'll find the right store, and I think I don't know, for you to be this passionate about the game, like a store should just like pull you in and be like, you're our guy, and you'll have that home store.
Yep, that's the plan. So this is more of a logistics question. But how do you decide how much product to order? I mean, we hear all this talk about allocation recently, and it's something I've never really thought about before. But now that I'm thinking about it, it seems like you may as well be like shaking a magic 8-ball. Like, I hear some people say they over order by like 100%, hoping to get the amount that they want. Like, how does that whole process work?
Yeah, it's probably easier to look at another game besides Lorcana.
Sure.
So most manufacturers, they basically tell all the distributors what their cutoff date is. So you could look at Legend Story Studios for Flesh and Blood. They'll tell their distributors and say, hey, we need all of your numbers of product that you want to order from us, the manufacturer, by X date. And so the distributors go out, they set their timetables with us, and this all happens pre-spoilers. So every single trading card game we have to put in pre-orders for a wide range of products, from could be like trial decks and bundles and collector's editions and booster boxes, generally before spoiler seasons. And so we're kind of banking on Magic 8-ball type stuff, basically, like, or sometimes past data, like if Magic is doing another Zendikar set that could be hot. Sometimes there'll be like a rumor mill kind of thing happening where you can kind of, oh, we hear that the draft box is going to be good, but don't touch the set box for this release. And it is just kind of a game, and the margins on sealed product like generally aren't very good. By and large, I'd say if you looked at Magic, Pokemon, all the games, that the sealed product is not where we flourish. It's going to be in the singles market and the secondhand afterwards. So you just make your best guess, and you got to look at what you can live with. And for us, it's always a cash flow question. Hey, like we're still building out our third store that's we're going to open this summer, and there's a big Magic set that's the Commander Masters is coming out in a few weeks, and like a set booster box for Commander Masters is like $400, and so we have to decide how many of those we want to like order. And it's like, well, I can't order that many. Like, so, and there's been 7 cards spoiled for the set, and we don't want to. It's difficult because we don't want to pre-sale a ton of it. at a certain price, because if the price fluctuates a ton, we don't want to have overcharged our customers or undercharged them. So that's why we like to wait as late as possible before setting price points. So it's difficult, and we get burned sometimes, and sometimes you do okay. I think it's just a matter of like, you don't want to put in more than you you don't want to be in a situation as a new store to where you over order and then you have to tell your distributor you don't want the product, because it has an opportunity to create a negative experience with that vendor. But like, you still have to run a business too, and if if it doesn't seem like you're going to get a lot and you do get a lot, then you can have conversations, and there's so the vendor relationships, the longevity, a lot of our reps that we have in from our Lorcana distributors, we've had these sales reps for a long time. So we've had what's the word I'm looking for?
Rapport.
Rapport and negotiations over a lot of different facets of our business relationship over the years. And so I think, and we've met with them at trade shows, and we've had dinner with them, and they know my vision for our growth. We're opening a new store at least every other year, and I want to grow faster than that if possible. So I like to make Kingslayer look like a place that they want to partner with long term. So that way, when those decisions come for allocation or whatever, they know, okay, hey, Kingslayer is invested in us, we're invested in them, and then so that's where I don't get too tied up and worried about allocations, because we'll get what we get and we'll make the best of it. And I think it's just a matter of, when we were a store that only been around a year, we didn't get much of anything. And that was when I learned, okay, they've really, distributors in this industry generally value how long you've been in the industry, your annual spend over 12 months. Each distributor uses a little bit of a different calculation for how they determine allocations, but it's as fair as they want to make it seem. So, and I can't affect it much other than just being kind and trying to run the business the best as we can and provide a competitive wages for my employees and a fun place to play. So I feel like if we do all that stuff and we're true to ourselves and our values, then all the other stuff kind of works itself out.
So generally speaking, not necessarily about what may be surprising about Lorcana, because we don't know anything about Lorcana yet, really. And you can also throw in, if you want, like you said, a shotgun explanation of how it all started. But what are some of the things about running a local game store that people may find surprising?
Let's see. I think I'm entrepreneur by nature. Like I had a sales background, and I've worked for Staples and for UPS as in outside sales for the first 9 years of my career in a business to business selling environment. So I can do the working in corporate America thing, but I really enjoy the flexibility of being in control of the process from start to finish. So I think that's the part that's probably the scariest part about owning your own business, is there's that freedom, but if it fails, it is completely your fault. And so I think there's that's the part that might be most surprising about running your own business in general, regardless of it being a trading card setup. But most surprising, get to go on podcasts. That's pretty fun. Having a kick out of this. Yeah, I mean, the flexibility is really neat, and it's really unique. I have a young family, so my children are 14, 10, and 8. So and only one other staff member on my team coincidentally has children. So I really love the fact it's kind of weird, but I get to spend so much time with my kids because I'm an entrepreneur and run my own business. That part is really, really nice. In the beginning, it wasn't like that. It's really tough to get. The first few years can be brutal. But I think that's something that is really rewarding. Yeah, I think the community is very aware and appreciative of what it means to have a quality local game store. And I don't mean to necessarily toot my own horn here, but people are so overwhelmingly appreciative when you've got a place that doesn't tolerate BS from that straggler, that one customer that's rude, that has a clean bathroom, that really puts them first. That part is really neat. We've met and made some really awesome relationships over the last 8 years, and going back to the Fountain Valley store, our home store, and seeing someone I haven't seen maybe in 4 or 5 years, and they're still coming and playing at F&M. but they might be there with their kid or their buddy now, and just that part is really cool. I would say it's akin to like a high school reunion, but I didn't really love high school, so I don't know if it's for me. But it's like having it's having that community and that club of people that come back to share that experience, and having that mutual appreciation. Like it is a 50-50 thing. Like we provide the space, they provide the community, and they spend money. So like this is a really awesome marriage, and that part is really cool. I don't know if you have that in any other industry. A lot of times I'll compare our growth or like retail. I'll look at like a Guitar Center or Sephora Beauty, or I'll look at GameStop, or I look at like any other retail environment, like the surf skate hobby, sports, like that kind of stuff. Like I'm trying to think of any other retail hobby where like everyone's just like really excited about being there and coming back every week to enjoy shared experience in the hobby that they love. Like Guitar Center is probably like some sort of music thing, like might be like kind of close because people
like the old school record stores.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, those are. There's some
We're
really
not
good
that
ones.
old, James.
Burn. But yeah, that part is pretty cool. I really enjoy the community. Just is a lot of fun.
So I will say two of the things that impressed me about what you said is how you, number one, are obsessed with, you said obsessed is one of your characteristics for your store. Like you're obsessed with providing a good experience, understanding the games and the players. And the other thing that I really liked is that you said one of the things you're focused on is providing a top quality not patient. I'm a chiropractor, so I speak in terms of patients, but you're high quality customer experience. And I think that's so appropriate living in Southern California, because that seems like something that like Walt Disney would do. And the thing is that people really do notice those things and they appreciate them. And like, I kind of want to drive down to California and go to one of your stores just to see what it's like.
Yeah, let me know when you're coming, and we'll. I think it'd be great.
Roll out the red carpet.
Red carpet. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it's been we'd love to have you, and I think it's we're definitely not we're by far the best store in the U.S. or anything like that. I think there's our Fountain Valley store is really kind of like it was our survival model. It's in a warehouse, like it wasn't. I never would intentionally design it the way it is now. It was just the first one is going to be the first one, and then each iteration past the first ends up getting a little bit more fine-tuned and polished. And now Lake Forest, that experience will be the best version of like a Kingslayer that we've made. But yeah, I think it's we'd love to have you down, and yeah, I think that just the vibe in the room is really neat, and a full Pokemon or Magic or Lorcana event night, like there's just a buzz of excitement, especially on like a pre-release or a launch that's really contagious.
Oh man, I can't wait. So last question here, and maybe you can't answer this one because you said that you're so busy with the day-to-day stuff, you don't get a lot of time with the cards, but
oh no,
is there any Lorcana card that has you excited? Like, is there anything that you saw where you're like, that's a card that I want for my collection?
On like I've been on eBay, which I not a fan, but I've been on eBay looking at that like D23 collection that like was like 5 or 6 cards, that first one that came out, and I've almost bought that so many times just because every time I'm like, what am I gonna do with this? Like, how long am I gonna have to sit on it before like I even want to put it for sale in the store? But that set and like that Mickey, yeah, that looks pretty cool. Like I think the foiling, it's outside of that, I can't think of any specific cards. I remember seeing the foiling at GAMA and thinking that like, okay, this is like, if you guys have you ever held a cold foil for Flesh and Blood or seen what those look like?
I don't know if I have.
Okay, go to your local game store, and we have them in the case. We have some Flesh and Blood singles in the case. It's very simple, but it has like a silver or gold border around like the text box and stuff, and it just feels great. And seeing the Lorcana cards, it was like, okay, they basically, it felt like that foil treatment on every card. So that's gonna be a lot of fun to see how that opens up.
And you get one in every pack.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Now we saw the foil cards at GAMA as well, and they are just stunning. I mean, and like the videos and the pictures that we took don't do it justice.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and that's what you'll I think if you look at the fab stuff, that's what you'll see. And yeah, my cousin is like a huge Disney freak, and she's like all Disney all the time. She goes to Disney World multiple times a year, and she knows that I own a card shop, and so she was like texting me like on announcements. She's like, "Are you gonna have this?" I'm like, "What do you like? I haven't talked to you in months. Like, what is this?" But it is bringing out some people that aren't in the trading card hobby, but they're in like the collectible interested in collectibles, also Disney super fans, and so it'll be fun to see it. That's where it's what a cool opportunity for game stores to like introduce people to trading card games, because that's what's gonna people are gonna come in and never the intimidation factor is going to be there. They're not going to there's going to be people playing that have been playing Magic forever or whatever, they're going to like dissect the game and find the meta like immediately. And so and then you're going to have this like 8-year-old kid with his mom that like is like a crazy super fan of Disney that's like are going to be terrified, and it's going to be our job to be like, we got you, like we're going to help you, guide you through this process. And then hey, by the way, you love this card game, it only comes out once every 3 months. We have check out Pokemon or check out our board games. Or I think it's such a cool opportunity for us to take advantage of that experience. And there's only so many intellectual properties that can get this kind of a crowd into the hobby. So I'm excited.
And you just happen to be down the freeway from Disneyland. The center of Disneyana, basically.
It's where dreams are made of.
I was gonna say, I appreciate that you acknowledge how scary it is to go in the first time. I remember going in for the first time at my local game store to play My Hero. It really was a scary experience. But like once you're inside, my experience was people are just super kind, and they like took me by the hand and helped me understand the game. So hopefully Lorcana is the same.
Yeah, I think it will be, and yeah, it'll be a fun opportunity. I'm looking forward to it. I'm also this is kind of a sidebar. It is kind of strange that they I guess intentional, and I'm glad in a lot of ways, but they haven't sent out solicitations for set 2 yet, which in my experience, every other card game that's launched usually asks for set 2 numbers before they even release set 1. So it is kind of interesting to see that they haven't. I'm kind of glad they didn't choose to do that already, but it's just food for thought.
Watch them do it like the week before set 1 drops, just to not be able to give you any indication of what's happening, right?
Yeah. I'll say I told you. I knew it was coming, guys. I knew it was coming.
All right. So I guess what we're going to move on to now is our weekly segment of the Lorcana Lexicon. And what is our word of the week, Jared?
So the word of the week is area of effect, and you'll see the abbreviation AOE, area of effect. And what it means is, the best example is we had 2 cards that were just revealed, the Giant Tinkerbell, I can't remember the official name, and then Grab Your Swords. But each of these cards deal damage to each of the opposing characters instead of just one chosen character. So if you have a card or an effect that affects multiple cards, that's an area of effect.
There you go. That's easy. And it can be anything besides damage too. It could be healing. It can be in the case of Lorcana, exerting all the opponent's cards, anything like that.
Them. Yeah.
Does the area of effect only do your opponent's cards, or does it do all the characters on the board?
So like this Tinkerbell specifically says it affects all of your opponent's characters. So if you're playing multiplayer, it will get all of those. But I'm certain that, like James said, there will be cards that will say heal all of your characters by 1 point or something like that. So that would be an AOE in your favor on your side of the board.
Yeah,
got it.
Since we're only at just over 50% of set 1 spoiled, we don't have a lot of what I guess a lot of people would consider standard TCG cards revealed yet.
The spicy cards.
Yeah, the ones that people love to get to build those decks to be as effective as possible.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. The in Magic, the way things are worded is like so important because it changes those things so much. So there's there's cards that I don't even think they would there isn't really a keyword for area of effect, but it'll say each, all, or things of that nature. And there are cards like a Sweltering Suns that will do 3 damage to like literally every your characters, your creatures, all opponents, yours, and so that's always a good time.
And that's one of the things that coming into a trading card game, you have to learn the importance of the way things are written, the way they're phrased, punctuation.
Yep.
All very, very important in trading card games.
Yep. Yeah. No, it makes it fun because then every time, especially once there's a couple sets out, every time there's a spoiler, everyone's thinking, okay, wait, hold on a second. Like, how does that work with X, Y, and Z card? And makes it fun.
Yep.
I cannot imagine designing a game and making sure that it's all balanced with prior sets.
Yeah, that's what with Magic, they have so many formats. So when they design a card, they have to imagine it existing in like 7 different games, because that's how many different versions of Magic more or less kind of exist. So yeah, it's wild. But then they ban stuff. Yeah, it happens eventually.
Okay. All right. So next up, we are going to cover some news bits and then the new cards we've gotten spoiled since our last episode. And first up, there is an influencer event happening Saturday, the 15th, in Germany. And I think it's about 100 people got invited, correct?
Yeah, there were 100 invites sent out, and we don't really know what's going on, but the invite, well, we talked about this last time, was on a giant Mickey Brave Little Taylor card. And I don't know, I'm keeping my eyes on social media on Saturday to see what happens.
Yes. And so next episode, we should have details, maybe, if they are allowed to reveal it. There may be NDAs about what's going on.
Well, there's definitely NDAs. some of them have already said it. But I mean, hopefully there's some part that isn't under NDA.
Right. And then we also have another French festival going on. Again, it's outdoors. I think it's happening right now, correct?
Yeah, right. As we're recording this on Wednesday.
And this is basically just another chance for people to demo the game. It's got tables and it's outdoors, and they're just playing the game with the demo decks we saw at GAMA. So there's really nothing new going on there.
Right.
But the big new thing is we got so many cards.
So many cards.
Let's just run through these really quick. Why don't you kick it off with the first one, the one we just talked about, the AoE Grab Your Sword.
All right. So the first card we're talking about is Grab Your Sword. It's on steel gray. Yeah, steel. It's 5 cost, not inkable. It's an action, but it's also a song, which we'll talk about when we get down to the giant Tinkerbell. But what it does is it deals 2 damage to each opposing character. And the only thing I'm thinking about is when you're playing multi-format, and if everybody's playing still multiplayer, there's going to be a lot of death and destruction on turns 5 and 6 or 4 and 5.
For sure.
This is the card that everybody's been talking about, and for good reason.
Yes. Yeah. I've been seeing so many people say, when we're getting AoE damage, and like, there's your AoE damage. This is going to be pretty good.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we get to Tinkerbell. But next up, we have Triton, who is a 7 cost inkable in Sapphire. He's a 5 strength and a 9 willpower, but he is a vanilla card and he has 2 lore. So he's basically just a really big body that you're going to lay down. Not even too far into the game with Sapphire's ramp. Even you can get him out probably in turn 5 pretty easily in Sapphire.
Easy. Yep. I've been testing this deck, and yeah, you can get big cards out pretty quickly with the ramp.
And why don't you go ahead and talk about the pair that we got revealed at the same time?
Yep. So in the Lorcana HQ Discord server, I don't know, it must be Little Mermaid week. We got Jetsam and Flotsam, Ursula's little eel companions. So they're both on Amethyst. Jetsam is a 4 cost inkable, 3 strength, 3 willpower. has evasive, but the thing that I love about these cards is that they buff each other. So Jetsam has evasive, and when you play, like if Jetsam is on the table and you play Flotsam, then Flotsam gets evasive too. And saying Jetsam and Flotsam a lot makes me feel like I'm making up words. But so Flotsam is a 5-cost uninkable. He has 3 strength, 4 willpower, and he has rush, and he will grant Jetsam rush. Word jumble here. So Flotsam has 2 lore, Jetsam has 1 lore, and together as a pair, they're pretty good. Individually, but as a pair, pretty good.
So we have Lilo next, 1 cost uninkable in Amber, 1/1, but she has 2 lore. So she's basically the Amber version of the Maleficent that is the same stats. Vanilla, but this is one of those early game ones where you can get it out and get some lore really quick. It's pretty basic.
Yeah, and when you hide this behind Simba that we're talking about here in a couple cards that has bodyguard, you might be able to get some extra mileage out of Lilo, because otherwise Lilo just like she's a target.
Yep,
for sure. So the next one is Pongo, old rascal on Ruby. And if you guess that Pongo has evasive, you are correct. He's 4 cost, he's inkable, 2 strength, 3 willpower, and 2 lore. So Ruby's definitely got that evasive package going on.
Yeah, lots more evasive going on there. It's just going to be all kinds of fun to deal with. Next up, a 6 cost inkable steel, and it is Krunk from Emperor's New Groove. He's a 6/6 with 2 lore and vanilla, so there's not really a whole lot to talk about with him except for he's there. And
How surprised are you? How surprised are you that he doesn't have bodyguard? I was surprised.
I'm surprised too, but I think we might get another one.
Yeah. So the next card is this Simba that I was talking about. 2 cost, inkable, 2 strength, 3 willpower, and this Simba does have bodyguard with 1 lore. So it's cool that it's an early game card that you can sneak out pretty early and protect your other characters behind it.
Yep. And when you're playing the deck with Stitch, that you're getting a bunch of low cost cards out, you can possibly get a few of these out to protect all your other ones to last a little bit longer too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Except if you get the next card, if you're playing against Steel and they get the Giant Fairy Tinkerbell, the 6 cost inkable, 4 strength, 5 willpower with 2 lore. And this Tinkerbell is shiftable onto another Tinkerbell. So she can be played for 4. And she has the ability to rock the boat. When you play this character, deal 1 damage to each opposing character. And an additional ability, Puny Pirate, which is during your turn, when this character banishes another character, you can deal 2 more damage to another chosen character.
So good.
So good.
And also, how good is this artwork? I mean, I love that giant sassy Tinkerbell.
And of course, this is the card that we were talking about. This card can sing the grab your sword card to deal 2 more damage to everyone. If you play it if you shift it onto a Tinkerbell, you can play it immediately and you can sing her immediately. So you can deal 3 damage in 1 turn to every opposing character, which is pretty awesome.
The next card is also pretty awesome. Kind of awesome. It's a 1 cost inkable Amethyst. It's an action card. It has Merlin from Sword in the Stone. It's called Befuddle. Return a character item with cost 2 or less to their player's hand. So goodbye to my magic mirrors and flounders.
How many cards can you have in a deck?
60.
Or sorry, of like duplicate copies? Can
4.
you have like 3,
4?
Okay.
4.
Yeah, I could see this being a 4 of.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Is there a sideboard? What's the size? Or is it best of 1?
It's a best of 3, and there has been no word about sideboards yet.
Okay, got it. Yeah, maybe not 4. Maybe you run 3 of these.
But yeah, being able to return a card that's 2 or less to your hand that only costs 1, that's pretty good. Because I mean, especially in the decks that like I said, the Stitch deck that is playing a bunch of those kind of cards, you getting all kinds of stuff back into your hand to be able to play it again is pretty cool.
Is this at like what's the speed that you can cast this? Is it like instant speed, or do you have to do it on your turn?
It's on your turn.
It's always on
Okay.
your turn. Yeah, there's no player interaction
Okay.
like Magic. So it's always everything happens on your turn that you do.
Yeah, well, it's nice that you can, because you can choose to bounce your own thing or your opponent's stuff. So that having that, right? So that flexibility is pretty cool.
Man, it's like you've been playing this whole time.
Just, I'm picking it up as we're going here.
And
Man, I was going to ask you if you had any questions when we were all done with the cards, but I love this.
Yeah, no, I just I'm trying to think of one cost things that interact this way are usually pretty busted and give you a lot of different tempo options. So that's cool.
see, for new players like me, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like Travis isn't a TCG veteran either if he just started in 2019. I guess that's 4 years.
Yeah, well, the store was it was 2015 is when the first store opened.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah, so and that was my world of Magic started then, but I'm terrible at combat math. Like this podcasting and looking at cards on a screen and talking about it is like my speed, but in the moment it gets much worse when there's stakes involved.
Yeah, I was explaining that, I was been playing a few games with proxies recently, and it's just losing a lot, and just realizing that just being able to throw stuff in there, like, okay, I have some ones and some twos and some threes, and I know some of the abilities are great, and then losing and being like, there's so much to learn to build deck building and playing and decision points, and it's like, this is going to take forever to learn.
It's fun once you have like just a couple people to test with, even if it's a new game. That's what when we first got into Flesh and Blood, we had bought a box of the first set, and we were like, all right, we're just gonna open one box, we're gonna make the best deck, because I think that there's 4 character classes when that game came out, and you just pick one of we built the best deck that we could for each of the 4 classes that were available, just from one box. And the decks were terrible, but they were at least like you could test them out and be like, all right, what felt good about this matchup, what didn't feel good, and that's just, it's fun doing that with a new game, just because everyone's kind of doing that at the same time. The meta isn't solved yet, especially I guess it could be, quote unquote, before once all the spoilers are out, but not really. So we'll see. That's the beauty time.
Yes. And then we have one final card that was revealed, and that is Merlin himself, the self-appointed mentor. He's a 4-cost inkable, 3 strength, 4 willpower, 1 lore, and he has support, which means whenever he quests, he adds his strength to chosen character strength this turn. And since he is a 3 strength, that is much better than Hey. So that is pretty cool.
I love this card so much. I mean, number one, it's a cool looking card, but number two, like this gives cards like Mickey, Detective Mickey, it gives him the ability to punch up a lot higher than he could otherwise. Right. Or if you drop down like a Rush Rafiki, that Rafiki can also punch up higher. I mean, it's just, I really like this card.
Indeed. So that's all the cards. And so the final news item that we wanted to talk about, which is just happened today on the 12th, when we're recording this just a few hours ago, we got the answer to the Upper Deck lawsuit, which is that Ravensburger and Ryan Miller filed to dismiss the Upper Deck lawsuit. And there's a lot of legal details in it, which we are not lawyers, so we are not going to go into. But I guess they have to answer soon-ish, was my impression. They're going to be in court in like just a couple days, or making it something like that.
Yeah, that I don't know. Like they're trying to move the case either to Washington or to a federal level. But like you said, we're not lawyers. I would refer to Paul Lesko on Twitter, Lesko. And
he did a whole thread going through the whole thing. And so if you're interested, go check it out.
The thing that I took away from his breakdown was he was talking about Ravensburger claims that Lorcana was in development months before Ryan Miller came on board. And if that's the case, then Upper Deck doesn't really have any leg to stand on. So
that will be an interesting thing to see.
Right. So we'll just have to continue waiting.
Yeah, Travis, any questions from what we talked about?
No, I just this is kind of random. Have you guys seen the show on HBO called Succession?
Have
I have
not.
not.
I've heard great things about it though.
It's
Same.
so demented and dark, and I'm recommending it I'm not recommending the show in any official capacity, but it's basically follows like this huge mega corporation and their family, and stuff. But I was just thinking of like not that this should be related to Disney at all, but I'm pretty sure the firm or the folks supporting a Disney IP, their like legal crew probably has a little bit more weight than Upper Deck. So I don't know. I think we're gonna be. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, and Ravensburger hired Perkins Coie, who are like top-notch lawyers. So
There you go. I think we'll be okay. But I was worried there for when it first came out.
Yeah.
I was very grateful that we had not pre-sold anything when I heard this was starting, and then I was like, it's Disney. I think we're probably going to be okay.
Yeah, I think so. And speaking of Disney, I think it's time to quiz Travis on some Disney trivia and see how he does.
So if I get a high enough score, does that mean you guys will invite me back?
Of course.
My kids think I'm like a movie star right now. I'm like, guys, I gotta go do this podcast. My 10-year-old's like, what?
So awesome. I love it.
So just invite. Just my inbox is always open.
And as a disclaimer, I asked you ahead of time what level of trivia you're comfortable with. So we tried to pick some medium difficulty questions for you.
Yeah, it's gonna be. We'll see. It's hard to know the scale, but we'll find out. We'll see how
It's true. It's true. Okay, so you know how Jeopardy works, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick a category, and then you're gonna. Is there any visual aids here, or is it like a
No.
1 to 5?
Just 1 to 5.
It's 1 to 5.
Okay.
No visual aids.
Okay.
I have all the questions picked out, and I'll give you the answer, and then you give me the question.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
So for 100,
and we're also not very strict about that. So
okay,
but
that's exactly what I was
need to
gonna
try
say.
doing the what is how I start my
concentrate on the answer more than the question, right?
All right, fair.
All right. This was the first Pixar movie for 100.
What is Toy Story?
Ding 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 ding. Good job.
Thank you. My boy Steve Jobs.
That's right.
Yep.
For 200, this is the animal that Emperor Cusco was turned into in the Emperor's New Groove.
What is a horse?
So close.
Very close.
Do I get a second guess?
Sure.
Oh, okay. No, I don't actually. I got nothing.
Not nothing. What is it?
It is a llama.
Llama. I don't know if I was that close. That was generous.
I mean, four-legged furry animal.
If I'm striking out on that, that's okay. Yeah, let's do it.
For 300, this is the name of Rapunzel's pet chameleon.
He's like, oh no.
There's no chance. I should have gone easy mode, but no, I've got nothing.
Okay.
Beep, beep.
Okay. Well, what is Pascal?
Oh my gosh.
And he has no chance on the next one unless he's actually gone to the movies recently.
Yeah, and it's not gonna. This is bad. This is if my cousin, who's again a Disney freak. Sorry, Jill. I should have had you come. I should have phoned a friend.
I'd say she'd be so disappointed, right?
Yep.
This is a movie that we kind of grew up with, so maybe you have a chance with this. This is the name of Prince Eric's dog in The Little Mermaid.
Oh man.
It's also the name of the horse in Rapunzel.
Is it? Oh yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you guys know this stuff?
Yes.
You guys are impressive.
So
that is hard.
You're obsessed with providing a world-class business environment. We're obsessed with Disney, so
yeah.
That's good. That's good. I appreciate that. Let me down easy. But that is
now if we had asked like how many sets has Flesh and Blood released, would that be something that would be more
I could at least have a guess that would be plus or minus like 1 or 2.
Ballpark.
Right.
I think I need like how many Dalmatians were in the first Dalmatians movie, and then I'd have a chance.
So, I know what. Here, let me see if I can come up with one that really. Oh, you asked for the last one because this last one might actually be the 500 point might be one of the easier ones, believe it or not. Anyway, the answer. Do we answer the Eric's dog? Did we
No,
answer?
no.
It was Max.
What is Max?
Yeah. What is Max?
Okay, so for 500, the song Bella Notte is the famous dinner song from Lady and the Tramp. This is what Bella Notte means in English. This is the night.
God, this is brutal. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I've got nothing.
James said this was an easy one, so I'm throwing that on James.
But again, I just watched this like a couple months ago, and so
yeah. Well, I apologize for really I should have gone easy. I should have known better.
It means beautiful night, Bella Notte,
Beautiful
and
night.
I probably butchered that.
No, you did okay. You did all right.
Okay,
It's good. I like the segment. I think I think next time you invite me back, hopefully I'm gonna go easy. And then I'm gonna make some trivia for you guys. That's what we're gonna do.
Uh-oh. Let me see
Real
if
challenge.
with what level we're going for here. Okay, so this is another name one, but it's more recent. What is the name of the reindeer in Frozen?
Okay. I know I've seen this movie's been on in my house a lot, and historically many times. Or his
not, I wouldn't say master, but also his buddy. Either one.
What is Sven?
there we go.
Yes.
I'm in.
I
I'm
love
on
it.
the board. I'm on the board.
There you go.
You were on the board with Toy Story.
That's true. I started strong, and I think if a guest gets if they get 3 answers incorrect in a row, you should just like punt them off the Zoom call. It's just like elimination.
That's hilarious.
We play we've got a little basketball net in my son's room, and we just play basically 3 strikes you're out. First shot's good, second shot you're heating up, third shot you're on fire, and then you win basically. But if you miss 3 in a row, you're
kicked out of the room then, right?
Yep. It's
Yeah.
over.
All right.
So it's a brutal home.
Yeah, it's not quite that bad.
For sure.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up now, but let me just say that I am so happy that I'm going to be playing in your store, based on just this conversation that we had. I can't wait to just hang out there and become one of those people that hopefully everyone has all those good relationships and interactions and has a good time there going forward for however long I get to play there.
Awesome. No, I'm looking forward to it. And
All right, so if people want to find you online, Travis, where can they find you?
yeah, so our store's social profiles are everywhere for Kingslayer Games on Twitter. I think I'm Travis Young 12. If you want to find me directly on there, but yeah, I think let me just confirm that. Yes, that's what it is. So Travis Young 12 on Twitter. If you have any direct questions, or Travis@KingslayerGames.com if anyone has any business inquiries or any thoughts about how we do things. And I'm really open book when it comes to business practices and our mission and values and our kind of company strategy. So I love having conversations. I think it gets me excited about our future in the hobby as well, just talking about it. So yeah, I'm definitely around.
That's awesome. And thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure. So
Thank you.
If you liked what you heard, you can follow us on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on the podcast of your choice. You can find me on Twitter at Citizens of Lorcana. And James, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere at Dan Regal. And you can also check out next week after Comic-Con, the wrap-up show for the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog. And then I'll be going into hibernation on Comic-Con stuff. So thank you all for joining us. And again, thank you, Travis, for joining us. And we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thanks for having me, guys.